studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. If you said that that was how you thought the Edmonton-Dallas series was going to go, I never want to hear your sports takes again because you're A, liar, and B, bad at analyzing hockey. Because anybody who came into this series thinking that the Oilers were going to take down the Stars in 5 games flatly doesn't have the information on the rosters, the on paper stuff, the minute stats that go into this because Dallas looked like a wagon coming into this series, taking down Colorado in 7 games without Miro Heiskanen or maybe their best forward Robertson. These guys were a buzzsaw. And I really thought that this was going to be a 6 game series in Dallas's favor. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. The Oilers just continued to defy all expectations, logic, and basic hockey sense. And by the power of friendship and the power of the depth at this point, apparently their depth is just awesome now. And obviously, they have maybe the 2 best players in the world. They advance to their second straight Stanley Cup final where they will meet the Florida Panthers. So they came out in game 5 like an absolute freight train. I've never seen a team dominate a game the way that they have when the other team should have so much urgency. Like we've seen this a lot in the NHL and the NBA so far these playoffs. When a team goes up 3-1, there's just an automatic difference of urgency. One team finally has their season on the line for the first time ever, and the other team is kind of coming off that high of taking that commanding 3-1 lead where although they'll never say it in the media, they kind of know in the back of their heads they have a very high likelihood to win the series after going up 3-1. It's a little higher in the NBA, but NHL, it's the same thing. You're going to win, I think it's 85% of the time. I could be wrong on that. But the Oilers came out like it was their season on the line, and they came out and scored 2 goals quick in the first 7 minutes. I'll get into the specifics of those goals in a second, but basically, Perry is wide open in front of the net on the Oilers' first power play after just a terrible high stick. I can't remember the player's name, but it was his first game back in the lineup, and I think it was his first shift, and he just takes a dumb one-handed high stick on Bouchard, and he goes to the box for 2 minutes, and the Oilers, like they've done in 4 of the 5 games that series, score on their first power play, take control of the game 1-0. And then I think it was just 4 minutes later, they get a breakaway, score. It's 2-0, 7 minutes into the game. So at this point, all things are collapsing on the Stars. Deboer talked about, who's the Dallas Stars head coach, and I'm going to talk about him a lot. He talked about during this series the absolute need to get out to a lead in this game, or just generally in this series, which makes perfect sense. It makes the Oilers play a very different game than the free flowing offensive style that they prefer. It really makes the Oilers play a bit more timid, and it makes the Stars' depth and their defensive structure a lot more prominent than it would be when they're down a goal and need to create offense. Because the Stars, at the heart of their core, in my opinion, are more of a defensive centric team. So DeBoer calls a timeout. And at this point, as I'm watching the game, I honestly think that this is a really good idea to call a timeout in this situation. Obviously, your season's on the line. Everything is going wrong in the first 7 minutes. Let's call a timeout, reset, curse the guys out a little bit, give them a bit of a mental reboot, and send them back onto the ice. Never in a million billion years did I think that DeBoer was going to pull maybe the best player on their team, definitely top 2. He pulls Jake Ottinger from the net, just flatly without any prior notice that this could possibly happen, without any even hints that oh gosh, why is his name slipping from my head right now? The backup goalie. Oh my gosh, he played Casey DeSmith. There's no hints that DeSmith was going to get into the series, and yet 7 minutes into the game, he pulls his franchise goalie. And listen, he has a bit of a history of doing this. You guys, I'm sure, remember that legendary picture that Marc-Andre Fleury's agent tweeted of him getting stabbed in the back after Deboer pulled Fleury for Robin Lehner during the 2020 playoffs. And his reasoning behind that was to keep Lehner sharp during the future playoff games so that he could stay on top of his game. Now, that at least had some reason or rhyme to it. At that point in his career, Fleury was not the Vezina. I think he actually did win the Vezina that year, but he wasn't quite prime Marc-Andre Fleury, and Robin Lehner was really, really good that season. I thought it was a really bad decision, but I could at least see the reasoning behind it. This was an insane decision. This is flatly a panic decision. This is I have no idea what the hell is going on. Let's pull something out of my ass decision that clearly backfired tremendously on the team. First of all, neither of the goals that went in were his fault by any means. So he goes in to start the game, obviously, Ottinger does. And the first goal, Cody Ceci and Lindell, they leave Corey Perry wide open in front of the net. The puck is on the right low side, gets ringed around the net. It's a play that happens a million times on every power play, and yet they miscommunicate and leave Perry wide open in front of the net, and he just taps it in. Ottinger almost made that save, by the way. He got a piece of it. It only just trickled over his shoulder to barely squeak in the net. So obviously that's not his fault. And the second was a literal breakaway. Like, you can't blame a goalie for getting scored on a breakaway. I don't know what the percentages are, but I'll always remember Wayne Gretzky's book where he talks about how it's way different to do a shootout than a breakaway in terms of your likelihood of scoring. When you're on a breakaway, not I think he said 9 times out of 10 you're going to score, whereas a shootout it's 40 because the goalie has more time to be prepared for that situation. Breakaways are just tough to save. It's really that simple. And DeSmith found that out later when Connor McDavid went Connor McDavid mode. But after the game, for Deboer to say, and I legitimately thought these quotes were fake. I have a hockey group chat with a bunch of my buddies. This got sent into it. And I had to ask, is this real? And then I went to confirm it for myself, went to listen to the press conference. It's absolutely real. He said, and I quote, "The reality is he has lost 6 of 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 shots on 2 goals in an elimination game." That is just as insane as actually pulling the goalie there. Are you kidding me? He's lost 6 of 7 games to Edmonton? That's his fault? I've not watched a single one of these Dallas Edmonton games in either of the past 2 years and looked back on one of the games like, Ottinger really lost him that one. There were a couple softballs. I really didn't see that the entire series. Obviously, I'm not the head coach of the Dallas Stars. I am a humble sports prognosticator who watches it on TV like everybody else. Maybe there was something more going on than meets the eye. But to me watching, I never once thought that Jake Ottinger was the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. I think he was like the 22nd biggest issue on this Dallas Stars roster this year. So to throw him under the Edmonton team bus after the game and say he's lost 6 of 7, let up 2 goals on 2 shots, it's just intellectually dishonest to people who watched the game and saw the kind of goals that went in. And on both of those goals, by the way, who were the 2 defensemen on the ice? Cody Ceci and Esa Lindell. The second goal was a breakaway given up by those 2. First goal, they left Perry wide open in front of the net. And these 2 guys, I usually refer to hockey stat cards. I think they're an awesome Twitter page. Go follow them if you haven't already. Final series game score. This puts in all of the games in the series into a formula of stats and Corsi and team offense above average and team defense above average, and puts it all into a pot and says, here were the best players this series, here were the worst players this series. The best player for the Oilers was actually Evan Bouchard, which makes sense. When I watched him play, he was probably the best Oiler. Then Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Hyman, like all the guys who you'd expect. At the very bottom was Cody Ceci. His team defense was at a -8. for the entire series, and just above him was Essa Lindell, whose team defense was just a bit better at a -7.5. Now, I know those numbers don't mean much. Please, I might just put up the card on the video right now if the guy will let me. I'm gonna reach out. Anyways, these guys were all-time bad. There was an easy decision for Deboer to make here, which is bench the two defensive liabilities who Edmonton has been feasting on this entire series. Not pull your Vezina candidate top 5 goalie in the world, who, by the way, this guy has made it perfectly clear to anyone who will listen that he wants to be the Team USA starter for the Olympics in 2026. Yeah, 2026. You think this is going to help his case for that? Getting pulled in the biggest game of the season after 2 goals. I'm well aware Hellebuck has had his playoff struggles, who is the goalie he's going to be going up against. But Hellebuck kind of ended these playoffs on a high note against the Stars, actually. He played pretty well all the way up till the time that they were eliminated. Ottinger is going out this season on the worst note you could possibly imagine. And I don't know how much it'll affect his chances to start. Maybe it won't at all. But you can't tell me that wasn't at least going through his head. And also the fact that, first of all, they're the Dallas Stars. What is the biggest Texas saying ever? You dance with who brung you. Ottinger's a big, if not the main reason they beat the Jets. They just shut down that offense. I thought Ottinger was phenomenal in that series. I thought he was decent in this Oilers series. I didn't see many goals where I was like, he should have had that one. I really didn't. And just as another note, like, if Deboer wants to be mad at somebody, first, I think Cody Ceci and Essa Lindell are criminal A and criminal B, or 1A and 1B. They were god awful. Where was Mikko Rantanen in the series? 3 assists after coming off the greatest playoff heater in the history of the world. What, he had back-to-back hat tricks, and I think he had something like 9 points in 3 games or something stupid like that. Where the hell was he? He had 3 assists this entire series. Matt Duchene was a complete no-show. He had an assist over the 5 games. He had 1 assist. Good job, Matt Duchene. I've never really believed in him as a winning hockey player, and he just continues to prove me right. Wyatt Johnston, who I actually think is a winning hockey player, and I'm a big fan of, he wasn't good at all with 2 assists. These are your offensive drivers. And they were god-awful. And you want to put Jake Ottinger under the bus? What a joke. What a flat-out joke. Jamie Benn, God love him. I hope he... I hope he doesn't get a cup at this point because, listen, I'm not a huge Dallas guy if Deboer stays, because this is just brutal. 0 points the entire series. And if you look at his hockey stat cards, he was terrible too. And just watching him, he looked like the slowest player on the ice by a mile. He got flown by so many times in this series. Like, he was just a non-factor. Now, I want to give Edmonton credit. They played some of the best offensive zone hockey I've ever seen in terms of keeping possession along the boards to create chances in front of the net. And I thought overall, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins had such a good series. I want to shout out Brett Kulak, too, who I thought was awesome. Wallman was sick. I thought they just played a phenomenal team game. And they clearly played some solid defense to keep those guys to not just less than what they average, but flatly bad series for any kind of player with their caliber. Like, Rantanen with 3 assists over 5 games, like, you have to be doing something right on the defensive end, and I give them full credit for that. And I'm excited that Ekholm is coming back. But to move on to the Oilers and pivot to the Stanley Cup Finals a little bit, they're playing an entirely different animal in the Florida Panthers here, because they have all of the talent that Dallas has. Like, again, I look at their roster and I just don't see a hole. Barkov is maybe playing the best hockey I've ever seen him play. I think Sam Bennett's the most underrated player in the NHL. Matthew Tkachuk's obviously Matthew Tkachuk. That third line is the best third line in hockey with Marchand and Luosterainen, although hopefully Luosterainen's healthy. I hope all players are healthy. I'm going to get to an Oiler injury in a little bit. A couple seconds, actually, that just sucks. But their third line's ridiculous. Obviously, you have Ekblad and Jones holding down their respective pairings. Nate Schmidt has won a cup before. So you have plenty of experience everywhere. And then a Vesna goalie between the pipes. Like, you just don't have any holes on this Florida Panther roster. And I think you have holes on this Edmonton roster. Obviously, Hyman being out sucks. He was amazing in this Star Series and throughout the entire playoffs. I don't know if you guys saw this stat, but Hyman had, I think, what was it? 60 more hits in the playoffs than he had in any career regular season of his career. Like 82 games versus how many did he play? Like 15 games, and he had 50 more hits. Look up the stat. It is something stupid like that. I should have brought it up beforehand. I apologize for that. But they're playing an entirely different animal in Florida because, again, they have the talent, but they have all of the mental aspects that Dallas doesn't. They're proven winners. Their head coach is a dog. They obviously have a phenomenal culture there that does not quit, being down to Boston 3-1 last year. Like, they just fight. And I don't think that they're going to panic the way that Dallas panicked, both in Game 5 and Game 4. I thought they panicked. So we'll see how it goes. I think the Oilers roster is really, really good, though. Obviously, they're in the Stanley Cup final for the second year in a row. Evander Kane has been playing phenomenal. I don't know where Kasperi Kapanen got this confidence from, but he's been fantastic. Podkolzin is now somehow a solid playoff depth piece. Like, when did that happen? Like I said, they just got Ekholm back, and Bouchard is maybe the greatest. How do I put this? From regular season to how much he increases in playoffs, it is the greatest increase I've ever seen in a hockey player in my entire life. Like, he just flips a switch, that guy. And Stuart Skinner right now is as hot as fish grease. Although I thought that one that beat him 5-hole, I think it was Robertson who got him. That one was a little weak. But he's been really, really good since Pickard got hurt, and I see no reason why he's going to decline, especially with the fact that he has so much more experience now. And how can his confidence not be at an all-time high? So if you're asking for my early prediction for the finals, my head screams Florida in 6. My heart says Edmonton in 7. And I'm going with my heart. I want to see McDavid win the big one. The Edmonton Oilers, this version of them for the past 3 years, has maybe been the most fun team I've ever seen play hockey. I'm not kidding about that at all. It's not just Connor McDavid either. They all kind of replicate that McDavid creativity. It's like your best player in the NBA. It just trickles down their traits. They rub off on their locker room. And the things that these guys try, the confidence that they're playing with, it seems like the camaraderie they have, definitely the chemistry they have, you can see it on the ice, is really unlike anything I've seen before. And it's just so much fun to watch. Like, I don't miss Edmonton Oilers games, because I know every single time I watch them, I'm going to be thoroughly entertained. I don't care if they're playing the LA Kings in the first round. It's going to be a blockbuster. And like I said, McDavid's too good to not win the big one. And also, just for history's sake, Gretzky lost his first Stanley Cup final, came back the next year and won it. Crosby lost his first Stanley Cup final, came back the next year and won it. McDavid obviously lost his first Stanley Cup final. We'll see what happens. But I'm so excited to watch it. What a phenomenal final it's going to be. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I want to know, how do you guys think Deboer managed the situation? What are your thoughts on him pulling Ottinger? What are your thoughts on the Stanley Cup final? I'd love to get it all in the comments below. I am small enough as to where I can respond to all comments and love doing so. So please leave some down there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed it. The Spit Sports Show just hit over 400 subscribers. Big stuff happening on the channel. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. I love you guys.